So I started wrestling my senior year of high school. It's like an interesting story.
That's it? Oh my God. You're so good. How did you start
Yeah,
so late?
so I've always had really good coaching. So my first high school coach was Eric Gibbs. He was like a 4-time city champion, a AAU All-American, AAU national champion in Greco-Roman. So my coaches, he went to Illinois University.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Illinois State is where he went. I'm sorry, the Redbirds. He went to Illinois State. And so one day I was just walking down the hall. I went to CVS, so one of the biggest schools in the city of Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I was just walking down the hall one day, and a couple of the guys I knew, we were just messing around, and they asked me to come in the wrestling room because I was known as to be a fighter, kind of have a fighter mentality.
Okay.
So I was like, "Oh, come in the wrestling room, see can you wrestle?" I wrestled around, and it went how it went. I had my moments, and then I didn't have my moment. And then this was before wrestling practice started. So once the coaches got there this particular day, I walked out. And they're like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Oh, I'm going home." But then the next day when I walked past, he was like, "No, you're not going home today." And he told me to come in the wrestling room. And it was like, the rest was history. The rest is history. I've never stopped wrestling since.
Wow.
I was the MVP of my wrestling team. The only year that I wrestled. Mm-hmm. I went on to Kennedy King. That's kind of like that's another interesting story. So I went to Kennedy King to try to continue my wrestling career. Mm-hmm. And 2 weeks before school started, they told me that they weren't going to fund a wrestling program.
Oh, they dropped the program.
So they dropped the program 2 weeks before school started. But luckily, I had a dedicated coach named Ken Ford. It's like one of the biggest influences in my life. And without him, I wouldn't be where I am. And there are so many wrestlers from the city that share that same story, that without him, we wouldn't be where we are. He was willing to continue to coach me. So I basically got a personal coach for 2 years in college. Wow. So we worked out 2 or 3 days a week. We would try to get anybody we could from the city to come and wrestle with us. We would go to different places. I started to build relationships with different coaches around the city. Mm-hmm. And and then eventually we ended up building a wrestling club. We had a wrestling club. It was called the Statesman Wrestling Club. Wow. Well, a lot of Harvey Twisters used to come through. Most of the inner city wrestlers came. Mm-hmm. So we had a really good program. But then the City Colleges of Chicago in 2012 dropped all wrestling programs. So that kind of hurt it really bad.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's when we switched to jiu-jitsu.
Wow. So what time did you switch to jiu-jitsu? About what year?
In 2013, January of 2013 was my first official jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, man, I'm amazed by that because I've seen you train and I've seen you spar, and I've seen a couple people try you standing, which is so silly. And like your duck unders, your like outside single legs, like your stuff, it's textbook. Like it's literally like you. I wrestled, for years, and, went as far as I could with that at a senior level and was pretty competitive. And like, I don't execute them that way. Have never executed them that way. And I can't even coach them that way. Like, you have way more talent than like me ever. And not that I'm anything, I'm just saying, like, to compliment you, I'm just so amazed you started so late, because you're a wonderful, you execute really well, but like you could coach it really well. So that's fascinating. That's awesome, man. You were like natural. Wow.
I appreciate
I'm so jealous.
I wouldn't exactly say I did have a lot of really, really good coaches. Like you said, Coach Lee Kemp, Travis Hammonds, Ken Ford, Philip Rimber. Yeah. Like, I've had so many guys pour themselves into me, which is why, you know, I try to live the way I do now.